Right, you alright everyone? I'm gonna record, second time trying to record this. So, I want to talk about progressing your lifts throughout a training block. Now, not so much on the main stuff like squats, deadlifts, bench presses. It can work for that, but I'm going to talk more about, let's say, exercises that we might use third or fourth in a workout. Maybe some of our assistance movements, now whether that might be, for example, a chest press machine, shoulder press machine, a cable row, a tricep push down, anything like that. Okay, how can we progress these through a training block to make sure that we're getting the most out of it? We don't just focus on our first and second exercises in a workout and then everything else we just fuck it off and we don't track it, we just get a pump on it. That's complete shit. We're leaving a lot of gains on the table. We need to be focused on everything that we're doing in the gym, okay? So, let's go over how we can progress through a training block with some of our smaller exercises, so to speak. So let's say we're going to go with let's say it's a tricep push down, for example. I'm only saying that because I done them today, so it's fresh in the mind. So let's say on week 1, now we're picking a rep range goal, so 8 to 12, we're in that 8 to 12 range, that's what we're picking, okay? So week 1, we come in and we pick a weight that we think we're going to be able to fall in that 8 to 12 rep range for our first set. So we come in and we put 40 kilo on, just 40 kilo just for the example, and we get 11 reps, okay? So that's our first set, 11 reps. Second one, we get 10 at 40 kilo, and then the third set, we get 9. So that's week 1. Now, job done, we've got our numbers on the board for the first week of the new training block. 11, 10, 9 reps at 40 kilo, okay? Now, we take a picture of that using our phone, and we make sure we track everything. So by the time when we come in on week 2, we've got the picture on our phone or however we decide to track our training, whether that be logbooks, an app, the notes on your phone, whatever it is, you know what you've done last week. Now you come in on week 2 and you have to beat in some capacity what you've done on week 1. Okay, so what we can do, because we only got 11, 10, 9 reps, we can generally just stick with the same weight. We can go 40 kilo across the board, but we beat it by an extra couple of reps. So we go 12, 10, and then 10. So we're up 2 reps from this week. So let's go, we're plus 2, okay? Plus 2 reps from week 1. Job done this session. We've ticked the box. We've added an extra couple of reps and we've stuck with the same weight. That's perfectly fine. That's all we need. Then we come in week 3 and then we go, okay, we're going to stick with 40 kilo again and we go 13, 11, 10. So again, job done. We are up 2 reps on week 3. Perfect. Now because we reached 13 reps, now it's the top end of our 8 to 12 range. We come in on week 4 and then we add something that I like to call the little biscuits. So the 1.25 kilo plates. Now if we're doing tricep push downs, for example, you can just hook that through the cable stack. It's an extra 1.25 kilo. It's not a lot of weight, but it's enough to force the extra adaptation. It's a new stimuli for the body, which it's not used to. So again, that's exactly what we're looking for. If you haven't got the 1.25 kilo plates, make sure you've got them. So then we go week 4. We add the extra little bit of weight, so our reps may come down a little bit. So we may come down 11, 10, 9, okay, but with the extra weight. So we're going to build it back up, we're going to layer in that progression. So then we come down to week 5. We've still got the same weight on, but we've still done the exact same reps as this week. Now what happens if this inevitably happens and we're stuck with the same performance for 2 weeks in a row? I purposely put this in here because I get this question all the time and it sometimes can happen to people and they start panicking. You don't need to panic. All you need to do is you just gotta let the body catch up and make the adaptations. Sometimes it can take more than 7 days. Sometimes you may need an extra week with the exact same sets and reps. That's perfectly fine. You're still gonna get a very good stimulus off this workout as you did here. It's just you're letting the body catch up. So then all of a sudden you're nice and patient, and you come back in week 6, and then there we go. We beat our reps. We get 12 on the first set, 10, 9. So then we're only up an extra rep here, but we're also up extra weight as well from where we was here. So you can see the way the thread of progression is happening. So then we come to week 7. Now we are then with the same weight, 12, then we beat our reps on the 2 back down sets. We go 11 from 10 and 10 from 9. So we're also up 2 reps here, okay? Job done, tick the box, I've done what we needed to do. And then we come back in for the final week on week 8. So from week 7, we go 13, 12 and 10. So from this week, we're also up 2 reps, okay? Again, we've done all we needed to do. Now, when you look at the big picture, look where you've come from week 1. You've done 11, 10, 9 reps, okay, with 40. And now you get to here and you've got 13, 12, 10. So we're up 11 to 13, which is 2 reps, 10 to 12, which is 2, and 9 to 10, which is 1. So we're up 5 reps from week 1, up 5 reps, and we're also up 1.25 kilo. Okay, so if you look at that, up 5 reps and 1.25 kilo across the board, that's huge gains, that's massive. Now, you imagine if that's 8 weeks, imagine what you can do in a year or 18 months, 2 years of consistently doing something like this with your smaller lifts. It's not flashy, it's not sexy, it's not something that some guru is going to tell you what to do. They can tell you that you might be able to add 5 kilos, 10 kilos each week and all this type of shit. It's all bullshit. Proper training doesn't work like that. You've got to fight for your small progressions each week, and over the course of training blocks layering in each week, each month, it all adds up over time. Now, I wanted you to see what this looks like when you actually lay it out on the board and you think, right, how can I progress from my small lifts? Because if I said to you at the start of week 1, okay, on your tricep push downs in 8 weeks time, you're going to be up 5 reps overall for an extra 1.25 kilo. You might think, oh, fuck, that's not a lot. In the grand scheme of things, it probably isn't. But then when you do take the step back and you look and go, right, well, if I do that for 8 weeks, if I do that for 4 8-week blocks, I'm going to be up 15 reps for an extra 5 kilo. That's huge gains, never mind what you're going to do in a year. So again, this is just a way in which you can start to look about and start to think about your smaller stuff. It all adds up. Now, as long as you are sleeping properly, you're eating properly, so you're definitely eating at maintenance calories. Optimally, to do this the best way, you're eating a slight surplus. You've got all those factors outside of the gym in check. You're going to give yourself the best opportunity to be able to do this successfully, okay? Because again, if you're in a calorie deficit, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do this. You can still fight to do it. It's just your progress may be a lot slower, which is to be expected. But again, you still fight tooth and nail to do as best as you can. But in terms of one piece of advice that I can give you when it comes to training progressions with all this sort of stuff, you don't want to be trying to make big, massive jumps every single week. You just want to force just enough of a progression that the body can adapt and make the adaptations it needs to, but then not too much up here, but then you're struggling to recover, you start to run into joint pains, and then you have nowhere to go throughout the training block. It's about slowly layering in that progression from week to week. As I say, you look at some of these weeks, you might have only added 2 reps, and then we added a little bit of weight, and we stalled at the same sets and reps for a week, which is fine. But then over the course of the weeks preceding that, we then started to add an extra rep, and before you know it, you get to the end, and you're here up 5 reps and 1.25 kilo from 8 weeks ago, and that's what it's all about. Always think of the bigger picture. Now, this can only happen if you are meticulous with tracking your training. If you just come in and just do random shit on whatever you feel like on any given day, you can't do something like this. How many times do you see it? Someone might be all in, focused on the squats and deadlifts or bench press, and then they just fuck around after that. There's no plan. There's just, oh, I just get a pump, or sometimes they even skip all this work entirely. It's stupid. You need to track everything. Everything needs to be tracked, because ultimately what gets tracked gets measured. You can make calls and judgment calls off the trends that you're seeing. Is an exercise working for me? Am I actually seeing growth? Am I seeing a response from this? Because without tracking any sort of data, how do you know what works? Okay, that's the big thing of this. Now, you could do this, you could progress this exercise for months and months and months. Now, eventually, maybe if this tricep push down, for example, it got stale and you genuinely just could not progress it at some point, what do? It's simple. You switch the exercise out. You milk this exercise for as much as you possibly can, for as long as you possibly can. And then if you were to reach 4, 5, 6 months of this, for example, this exact exercise, and after like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, there was just no gains anywhere, nothing was happening, you couldn't force progression, then you can switch the exercise out. But you milk the exercise for as much as you possibly can, get the most out of it, gather your data, you set some reps, your progression schemes, switch it out if it gets stale, and then when you come back to it and it's a fresh new stimulus again, you start to build up and you then beat the performance that you've done the last time you've done the exercise. It's pretty simple, all this training stuff, but people try to make it complicated. But again, that's what I'm here to try and help you with. So again, make sure you need to be tracking everything. I can't just say how important that is. Track all of your training, gather data points, make sure you're trying to beat your logbook from week to week. Do that for a long time and you're going to get results. It really is that simple. Alright, so let me know. Any more questions, any more video ideas, just drop them down below, and as always I'll get to them. Alright.